IRC 2024 का उद्देश्य ग्रामीण पुनर्जागरण को प्रज्वलित करना है, जिसमें प्रेरणादायी विचार तथा उसके प्रभावी समाधान पर विस्तार से चर्चा। सुबह प्रथम सत्र में हम लोगों ने बहुत ही विस्तार में विभिन्न प्रबुद्ध जनों को सुना और इसी के साथ हम आज के अगले सत्र की ओर बढ़ रहे हैं। मैं आग्रह करता हूं कि सभी साथी अपना जगह ग्रहण करें और अपने स्थान पर बैठें। पैनलिस्ट हमारे बीच में उपस्थित हो चुके हैं और इसी के साथ इस संभाषण श्रृंखला को हम और समृद्ध बनाएंगे। मैं सामने बैठे पार्टिसिपेंट से भी आग्रह करता हूं कि आपके हर लाइन में वॉलंटियर्स खड़े हैं, उनके पास कार्ड्स और पेन हैं। आपके जो भी पैनल से प्रश्न हो आप हाथ उठा सकते हैं, वो आपको फैसिलिटेट करेंगे। आप अपने प्रश्न मंच तक मॉडरेटर तक पहुंचा सकेंगे और मॉडरेटर के माध्यम से आपके प्रश्न पैनलिस्ट के से हम उस पर उत्तर लेंगे। और इसी के साथ अगले सेशन के लिए हमारे साथी निशांक ब्रीफ करेंगे। अगला सेशन का विषय क्लाइमेट एक्शन फॉर विकसित छत्तीसगढ़, लोकेलिटी कॉम्पैक्ट्स एडवांसिंग टेक्नोलॉजी बेस्ड वाटर सिक्योरिटी एंड रूरल लाइवलीहुड सॉल्यूशन। इस विषय पर हमारे बीच में उपस्थित होंगे विभिन्न गणमान्य अधिकारी, जिसमें कि छत्तीसगढ़ शासन की ओर से मिशन संचालिका छत्तीसगढ़ राज्य ग्रामीण आजीविका मिशन, कमिश्नर महात्मा गांधी NREGS, PCCF श्री श्रीनिवास राव, CEO हिंदुस्तान यूनिलीवर फाउंडेशन से श्री श्रमन झा जी और ब्रिटिश डिप्टी हाई कमिश्नर मिस्टर एंड्रू फ्लेमिंग। इन प्रबुद्धजन वक्ताओं को हम सुनेंगे और मैं आग्रह करूंगा और आवाज़ मेरी बाहर जा रही है सभी साथियों से कि वो शीघ्र अपने स्थान पर आएं। पैनल चर्चा प्रारंभ होने वाली है और सत्र 2 के संचालन हेतु मैं निशांक को मंच पर आमंत्रित करता हूं। श्री निशांक।
I welcome you all to our next session on climate action for Viksit Chhattisgarh. Focuses on locality compact, advancing tech-based water security and rural livelihood solutions. This session will highlight the role of climate action in developing Chhattisgarh, focusing on innovative tech-based solutions for water security and rural livelihoods. For this session, we are honored to have 5 distinguished panelists with us. Mr. Arpan from Transform Rural India will moderate the session. I would like to invite on the stage to our first panelist, Ms. Chandan Tripathi, IAS, Mission Director, Chhattisgarh SRLM, and Director, Swachh Bharat Mission. Through her visionary leadership, she promotes administrative efficiency and socio-economic development in the state. Mr. Rajat Bansal, IAS, Commissioner Commercial Taxes, Director Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin, and Commissioner Manrega. A dynamic IAS officer of the 2012 batch, he is known for his community-led initiatives and tech innovations. Mr. Srinivasa Rao, Principal Chief Conservator of Forests, Chhattisgarh, a senior IFS officer. He oversees forest management, conservation efforts, and the implementation of environmental policies, bringing innovation and excellence to forest management. Mr. Shreman Jha, CEO of Hindustan Unilever Foundation, with over 30 years of experience across diverse emerging markets. He is committed to inclusive development and water security in India, advocating for the critical link between water and climate change. And I would welcome Mr. Andrew Fleming, the British Deputy High Commissioner to Kolkata, joining us virtually for this session. With an esteemed career in the British Civil Service since 1986, he has promoted business and trade between UK and India. He has worked on international policies in many parts of the world. Before panel discussion, I would like to invite Ms. Navedita to shed some light on the session through a presentation.
हाय नमस्ते एवरीवन, गुड आफ्टरनून, जय जोहार सभी दीदियों को और जो भी ऑनलाइन हमसे जुड़े हुए हैं सबको नमस्कार. एंड ऑल्सो रिस्पेक्टेड डिग्निटरीज ऑन द स्टेज, एवरीवन, ऑल द एक्सपर्ट्स हियर इन द रूम, वेलकम. शुड वी स्टार्ट? ओके, कैन वी मूव टू द नेक्स्ट स्लाइड? अभी पहले सेशन में भी बहुत बात हुई, राहुल सर ने इसके बारे में हिंट करा कि विकसित छत्तीसगढ़ का प्लान बन रहा है, विजन डॉक्यूमेंट बन रहा है और उसमें हम देख रहे हैं कि देयर आर लॉट ऑफ ऑब्जेक्टिव्स. वी वांट टू अचीव सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट, पर साथ साथ हमें क्लाइमेट रेजिलियंस भी बिल्ड करना है, हमारे सबको साथ लेके चलना है, सबका विकास हमें करना है और हमें अपने ओवरऑल एमिशंस भी कम करने हैं, हमारी अपनी इकोनॉमी भी ग्रो करनी है. ये जो विजन डॉक्यूमेंट बन रहा है इसमें सम स्ट्रैटेजीज आर कि हमें कैसे सबको लेके हम अपना ओवरऑल एमिशंस कम कर सकते हैं, कैसे हम रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी की तरफ बढ़ सकते हैं, सिमिलरली हम कैसे वाटर, लैंड, एनर्जी इन सब का एफिशिएंट यूज़ कर सकते हैं. एंड वी आर ऑल्सो ट्राइंग टू प्रमोट सस्टेनेबल लाइवलीहुड्स, क्योंकि लाइवलीहुड्स जब तक सस्टेनेबली बिल्ड नहीं होंगे, ग्रीन लाइवलीहुड्स नहीं बिल्ड होंगे, तो हमें क्लाइमेट के लिए हम प्रिपेयर्ड नहीं रहेंगे. और इसके लिए जैसे हमारे पहले पैनल में बात हुई, सारे स्टेक होल्डर्स को साथ में आना पड़ेगा, समाज, सरकार और बाज़ार. वी नीड पार्टिसिपेशन फॉर एवरीवन टू एक्चुअली मूव टुवर्ड्स अ सस्टेनेबल एंड डेवलप्ड छत्तीसगढ़, विकसित छत्तीसगढ़. तो ये करने के लिए देयर आर सम प्रायोरिटीज़ जो गवर्नमेंट ने भी आइडेंटिफाई करे हैं, सारे जो सिविल सोसाइटी है उन्होंने भी आइडेंटिफाई करे हैं. नेक्स्ट, सो सम ऑफ द की प्रायोरिटी एरियाज जिनमें काम करना पड़ेगा फॉर द डेवलपमेंट आर वाटर कंजर्वेशन एंड सस्टेनेबल एग्रीकल्चर, क्योंकि इनके बिना हम सस्टेनेबल लाइवलीहुड्स, ग्रीन इकोनॉमी उसकी तरफ नहीं बढ़ पाएंगे. सिमिलरली हमें एफॉरेस्टेशन, रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी, इन चीज़ों पे काम करना पड़ेगा, तभी हमारा ओवरऑल एमिशन भी कम हो सकता है, कार्बन सिक्वेस्ट्रेशन हो सकता है. सो दीज आर सम ऑफ द प्रायोरिटीज़ दैट द गवर्नमेंट विल बी इंक्लूडिंग इन द विजन 47 डॉक्यूमेंट. नेक्स्ट, so let's now zoom into the water conservation part, right? Water is like the backbone of our ecosystem. बिना पानी के हम और जनजाति कोई भी survive नहीं कर पाएंगे. एक water conservation is a very integral part of dealing with climate and climate resilience. तो अगर हमें climate के लिए resilient बनना है तो हमें water conservation, water availability, water access, इन चीज़ों पे काम करने की बहुत ज़रूरत है. और स्पेशली रूरल इकोनॉमी के लिए वाटर प्लेज अ वेरी डिसप्रपोर्शनेट रोल, क्योंकि आपका एग्रीकल्चर, एलिड एक्टिविटीज़, फिशरीज, एनी लाइफ स्टॉक, एवरीथिंग इज़ डिपेंडेंट ऑन अवेलेबिलिटी ऑफ वाटर. तो वाटर अवेलेबिलिटी इज़ वेरी की फॉर द डेवलपमेंट. और इसको अचीव करने के तरीके क्या हो सकते हैं? अभी पहले सेशन में हमने बात करी कि देयर इज़ अ नीड टू बिल्ड मॉडल्स. वन ऑफ द आइडिया इज़ टू बिल्ड अ मॉडल जहाँ पे हम लोग सस्टेनेबल एग्रीकल्चर, लाइवलीहुड, वाटर कंजर्वेशन लेके आए, बट साथ साथ हम नेचर और इन चीज़ों को भी कंजर्व करें और एक हम सस्टेनेबिलिटी की तरफ बढ़े. तो फॉर दिस विजन इन माइंड, HUF and TRIF has joined hand together and we have started this program in Chhattisgarh. Last year we launched this program, and the idea is to build a model for sustainable water conservation and enhancing the livelihood opportunities. Next. अभी ये होगा कैसे? हम ओवरऑल आइडिया इस प्रोग्राम का ये है कि हम ऐसे डिफरेंट मॉडल्स करें, उसको ग्राउंड लेवल पे लेके जाए डिसेंट्रलाइज वे में. और आज अनिर्बन जी ने भी हमें बताया कि वी नीड टू डू प्लानिंग एट द लोकल लेवल, पार्टिसिपेटरी, कम्युनिटी सेंट्रिक प्लानिंग. इस चीज़ को ग्राउंड पे मॉडल्स के द्वारा उतारा जाएगा. डिफरेंट मॉडल्स ट्राई किए जाएंगे, जो भी सक्सेसफुल है उनको डॉक्यूमेंट किया जाएगा, उनको रेप्लिकेट किया जाएगा, इंस्टीट्यूशनलाइज किया जाएगा, एंड देन आइडिया इज टू हाउ वी कैन स्केल अप थ्रू द support of the government. And होप ये है कि आफ्टर एग्जीक्यूटिंग दीज मॉडल्स एंड स्केलिंग देम अप, we will have like a water security in the state in different parts, different districts. We will have better agriculture productivity, climate resilient agriculture, and we'll also have sustainable livelihoods. So इस प्रोग्राम को एग्जीक्यूट करने के लिए दो मेन स्ट्रैटेजीज हैं. एक पहला है जो हमने सुबह से बात करी है ऑफ डेवलपिंग लोकेलिटी कॉम्पैक्ट्स. तो ये लोकेलिटी कॉम्पैक्ट्स में हमें पंचायत मेंबर्स, विमेन कलेक्टिव्स और लोकल एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, लाइन डिपार्टमेंट्स, इनको साथ आना होगा ताकि ये जो प्लान ग्राउंड से डेवलप हो, हाउ टू डू बेटर लैंड एंड वाटर यूज मैनेजमेंट, इन सारे प्लान्स का पहले कन्वर्जेंस होना पड़ेगा, उस पर विचार होना पड़ेगा एंड देन प्रायोरिटाइजेशन होना पड़ेगा कि किन चीज़ों को आगे लेके जाना है. एंड सुबह से बात हुई है कि पार्टिसिपेशन ऑफ द कम्युनिटी इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. सो आई थिंक कि दिस बिल्डिंग एंड स्ट्रेंथनिंग दिस लोकेलिटी कॉम्पैक्ट्स, बी इट इन द टर्म्स ऑफ GPCC, BLCCs जो हमारे पैनल ने पहले बोला, सो ये सारे करने से वी फील कि ये प्रोग्राम बहुत ही इफ़ेक्टिव हो सकता है. बाकी हमारा गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया का भी विजन है कि मनरेगा और NRLM का कन्वर्जेंस हो, जिसमें जो दीदियाँ हमारी SHG से जुड़ी हुई है उनके लिए हम क्यों ना बेनिफिट्स अपने मनरेगा प्रोग्राम से लेके आए. तो ये भी हमारा एक मेन फोकस रहेगा इस प्रोग्राम में. और उससे हम सोचते हैं कि हमारे मॉडल्स डेवलप होंगे जिनको हम डॉक्यूमेंट करेंगे, जो हमें सस्टेनेबिलिटी की तरफ लेके जाएगा, जिससे हमें इम्प्रूव्ड इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर भी मिलेगा एंड लाइवलीहुड्स भी उससे वाटर लिंक मिलेंगे. और एक और चीज़ हमारा बड़ा फोकस रहेगा कि विमेन का रोल हमें एनहांस करना है इन द प्लानिंग ऑफ एसेट्स एंड ऑल्सो मॉनिटरिंग ऑफ एसेट्स. सेकेंड बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट, अगेन आज सुबह बात हुई कि द वे टेक्नोलॉजी इज ग्रोइंग एंड इंक्रीजिंग इन द कंट्री, वी नीड टू इंट्रोड्यूस अप्रोप्रिएट टेक्नोलॉजी वेर एवर पॉसिबल इन द सिस्टम. सो अगर हमें सिस्टम में ये जो चेंजेस लाने हैं, मॉडल्स डेवलप करने हैं, इसमें हमें टेक्नोलॉजी को कॉम्प्लीमेंट्री की रोल में लाना पड़ेगा. जहाँ अप्रोप्रिएट टेक्नोलॉजी यूज़ हो सकती है वहाँ हमें उसे इंट्रोड्यूस करना पड़ेगा और उन स्टेक होल्डर्स की कैपेसिटी बिल्ड करनी पड़ेगी. तो मुझे खुशी है कि हमारा बहुत सारा काम बस्तर रीजन में हो रहा है. हमारी जो दीदियाँ जुड़ी हुई है उनका हम कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग सम ऑफ दीज टूल्स पे ऑलरेडी कर रहे हैं. वो GIS बेस्ड मैपिंग कर रही है, अपने लैंड ऑफ वाटर मैनेजमेंट प्लान बना रही है एकदम ग्राउंड अप लेवल से. ये सारा डेटा कैप्चर होके हमारा ब्लॉक, डिस्ट्रिक्ट और स्टेट में आ रहा है. काफ़ी सारा डेटा कि किधर कौन सा स्ट्रक्चर बनना है, किधर क्या वर्क होना चाहिए, ये सारा डेटा हमारा मोबाइल ऐप से कैप्चर हो रहा है. एंड देन वी आर डेवलपिंग डैशबोर्ड जो हमारे स्टेट, डिस्ट्रिक्ट, ब्लॉक और सारे लेवल्स पे हमें इंसाइट्स देगा कि क्या चल रहा है. एंड अभी हमारे प्रीवियस पैनल ने इसके बारे में भी बोला कि हाउ इम्पोर्टेंट डेटा इज़ फॉर डिसीजन मेकिंग. सो वी आर होपिंग कि हमारे डैशबोर्ड्स भी इस जर्नी में हमें हेल्प करेंगे टू प्रायोरिटाइज एंड डिसाइड. और फार्म मैकेनाइजेशन ऑल्सो आई थिंक एग्टेक, अभी स्टार्टअप्स की बात हो रही थी. सो देर आर डिफरेंट एग्टेक्स हु आर ब्रिंगिंग डिवाइसेस. या छत्तीसगढ़ में पेनिट्रेशन ऑफ फार्म मैकेनाइजेशन नहीं है. सो वील ऑल्सो ट्राई टू प्रमोट दैट एंड ऑल्सो प्रमोटिंग ऑल द नेचुरल फार्मिंग प्रैक्टिसेस. सो इन चीज़ों पे भी कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग ऑफ हमारी दीदियाँ एंड वुमेन कलेक्टिव्स चल रहा है. सो दिस वॉज लाइक अ क्विक बैकग्राउंड, एक हमारा प्रोग्राम क्या कर रहा है. नेक्स्ट, and these are some questions we are thinking, and I think I'll hand over Arpan to take the panel discussion forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Nivedita, for taking us briefly to the presentation. So before I start the conversation, I would like to thank the panelists for giving us time, giving us consent to be a part of this. And also we have an online panelist with us, Andrew Fleming, and so not much ado. So taking the first question from the PPT itself and going ahead, what we see in the PPT, and this question might be to Madam Chandan Madam. As we have seen in the PPT, there is a power of collectives, women collectives to be specific. And we have seen women collectives are not just the receivers of development, but they are also the creators of development. They are being a part of the process. And as we know, in Ministry of Rural Development, Ministry of Panchayat Raj, they have jointly released advisories for VPRP, GPDP integration. So they too somewhere have a feeling that the collectives need to be strengthened more, and they do have a role in the planning process. So now coming to the question, how do we see the locality compacts? When we say locality compacts, we mean the PRI members, the local administration, the women collectives all together. How do we see the locality compacts being strengthened, one? And the second being, how do we see from NRLM perspective, scalable rural livelihood programs could be generated through these locality compacts?
Thank you for such a wonderful question. I'll just want to give a brief background about what NRLM or SRLM has been doing in the state. We have got a population of 31 lakh women which we need to cover, and this 31 lakh belongs to different households. We have been effectively formulated about 2.71 lakh SHGs. That is one of the highest in the country. So the basic thing is that once we make women collectives, we further think of how to involve these women in generating their own demands. Earlier, we have seen that in Gram Panchayats, each and every planning is done at the Gram Panchayat level, and every year they formulate the Gram Panchayat development plan, which is put up on the portal, and then it is approved, and then money is released for the village level planning, okay, or the village level developmental works. But somehow we find that the women's or the SHGs or the women collectives, they are not involved in the planning process. So what we are trying to do through NRLM is, our focus is slightly changed. Now we have been involving women SHGs along with the PRIs. We have been training them, almost about 28,000 VPRPs have been already made. That is Village Poverty Resilience Plan, so that women can come forward and they can really assess what their real needs are. Whether the needs can be in the case of entitlements, like if they need some PMAY houses, or maybe they require some pension, they want to be included under several insurance schemes, that can be their priority. In many cases, other than that, there can be priorities of livelihood, how, in what ways they want us to support them so that they can really generate something out of what they have been doing since years. In recent move, Government of India has announced that, okay, we have to make Lakpati Didis. So currently we are working on that also. Lakpati Didis, as in all those Didis whose income can be increased from 1 lakh to more than above. And I'm really happy to share from this stage that we have almost demarcated about 8 lakh Didis who are already working as livelihood generators. But then we have to improve on their income, and almost 5 lakh SHGs and ladies have been identified. We have got these ladies who have improved income. So we are working forward for the upliftment of the SHGs through various livelihood activities, and we are somehow engaging them in various kind of works, which is really like, it is not limited to making of achar papad badi. They should get a good platform, they should get a good marketing benefit, and they should really earn or make some profit out of it. So we are even developing an app, just like what you see in Swiggy and Zomato, that things are delivered at your home and within few hours. In similar manner, we are trying to work for them so that they can engage themselves and can take out maximum benefit. So one step ahead, that Chhattisgarh government and the SRLM team is working ahead, and we are engaging into locality compacts so that the plans which are generally formed at the Gram Panchayat level, they get more strengthened, and even our women are really important key stakeholders in making the development plan of themselves as well as the whole of village. So this is the way we are working forward, and we are even looking forward to increase the number of cluster level federations and village organizations. At present, we have around 572 CLFs and about 14,000 VOs. So ultimately, the PRI CBO, wherein the Kudumshri is also helping. We had signed an MOU with Kudumshri. It is an NGO working in Kerala. We have signed that MOU, and we are helping our women to gain better opportunities and learn more and train them more to really gain something out of SRLM.
Thank you, madam. Your words have been quite insightful, numbers have been mind-boggling, and the program that you mentioned, Lakpati Didi, so that's the word that I'll take the next question on. To Raja Bansal sir. Whole of government approach is the buzzword, and this is the word that's being used for convergence. And under Lakpati Didi Yojana, just as Madam mentioned, mass assetization through Manrega is one of the key aspects to create large-scale livelihoods assets. And traditionally, government has been, programs had been going on in silos. But as of late, these words like whole of government, convergence are being emphasized. So now coming to the question, what is your opinion on converging the strengths of these programs for large-scale benefit to women? And the second being Chhattisgarh specific. What has been some of the efforts on this in Manrega, especially in Chhattisgarh context?
Thank you for the question. काफ़ी सारी चीज़ें आपने एक साथ पूछ ली हैं. तो सबसे पहले तो you referred to a term called mass assetization. MGNREGS as a scheme is a bottom-up scheme which basically aims at giving employment to those who need it. अब इसकी अगर शुरुआत की बात करें तो such scheme started from कि कहीं कुआं खोद दो, कहीं पर ड्रॉट आया है, कहीं पर नेचुरल कैलामिटी आई है, किसी को रोजगार देना है, कोई भूखा ना मरे, तो कुछ भी काम करा करके हम लोग अनाज भी दे देते थे. पहले एक फूड ग्रेन फॉर एम्प्लॉयमेंट टाइप की योजना होती थी. आज हम उस जगह पे खड़े हैं कि वी वांट द असेट्स टू बी क्रिएटेड विच आर परमानेंट or semi-permanent in nature, which are sustainable and which are also climate resilient, and which also sort of negate the impact of climate change and all the destructive efforts that we are making. So NREGA as such, as a scheme, absolutely focuses on natural resource management type of works. So we have 4 categories of work within NREGA, and within that the first category is NRM works. So, and we, as a guideline, we try to sanction more than 65% of our works as NRM works. And we especially focus on the blocks which are also the blocks which are more water stressed in nature. So we have around 54 such blocks in Chhattisgarh. So we do that. Now coming to the point of women and the whole of government approach, as you asked, as Chandan madam was also saying, it is very important for the women to be involved at the Gram Panchayat level, and we are seeing that happen with the Lakpati Didi Yojana, with all the samoos and the cluster federations which are coming in place. They are actively participating in planning. Abhi I was discussing with Shaman ji, तो एक example दे रहे थे कि कई गाँव में ऐसे projects चल रहे हैं जहाँ पर water budgeting होती है and the women do it, the SHG groups do it. So we are at a stage where our SHGs are not just doing what they are told to do, but the SHGs are deciding what is the best thing to do for the gaon, for the village. And once that decision comes from the grassroots level stakeholders, which are the SHGs, which are the women who actually face the water crisis, who actually face the kind of behavioral issues which are involved around the water crisis and the water management. So I think then the MGNREGS comes in as the key scheme where the assets can be sanctioned, where the assets can be delivered and actually the thing comes into place. So for example, if we talk about only assets, since you use the term mass assetization, so as per this, since I'm looking at the scheme, that is not a term which I'll subscribe to. But at the same time, my focus has to be, the government focus is that the assets which are created are highly impactful in terms of water conservation. So right from creating assets like Nadip tank, vermicompost tank, which allow for production of better manure, to assets like water conservation structures based on the ridge to valley approach. So those type of assets are the assets which we are focusing on in terms of our sanctions. We are trying for watershed management principle based approach to sanctioning, to planning. And I'm very happy to note that in Chhattisgarh, across districts, we see SHGs working, getting more and more technically sound and working very hand to hand with our technical departments in terms of planning of these assets. So definitely a lot of work has happened if you want numbers. So we've given more than 1,620 crores of assets in the last year alone of NRM nature. So different kinds of assets are being created. The focus is that assets which are created, they should be ecologically sustainable. And also the ownership of their maintenance, the ownership of their sustainability should also be held with the communities, which is something where the whole of government approach comes in. So it's definitely not a scheme driven by contractors. It's a bottom-up scheme, as I mentioned, and it's a scheme, even at the bottom level, we are looking at the SHGs as our key stakeholders. So in Narega, in Chhattisgarh, PCCF sir is also there in the panel, we are actually trying to empower the CLFs, the cluster level federations, to do the plantations. And forest department, the horticulture departments are coming in as technical agencies which support them. So rather than our departments being the primary stakeholder and these the Gaon ka people or the rural women or the SHGs being the secondary stakeholders, we are making them primary stakeholders, and we are doing the technical handholding. In places like in the tribal blocks or the forested blocks where there are FRA beneficiaries, there are CFRRs. So there also the planning is very much done in an integrated manner with the communities which are operational at the ground, and the assets are also planned and implemented in such a manner. Also there is focus on impact analysis. We often lose sight of what is the actual result of what we are trying to do. So the government of India is also very keen on this, and in Chhattisgarh we had a drive last year that we started monitoring the levels, water levels of different open wells. So through the Jaldoot app, so that over the years we can actually say if we have followed the ridge to valley approach, if we have given these many assets, we have made these many assets, what is the actual benefit in terms of groundwater table impact. So we are going towards that, and we are seeing a lot of good results. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Some of the key picks that I get, and if I were to summarize it in one word of all what you have put forward, हमने बात शुरू की थी वेद से और एसेटाइजेशन पे भी हम फोकस कर रहे हैं. सो मजदूर से बालिग की और लोगों को बनाने के लिए हम आगे बढ़ चुके हैं और उस पर भी बहुत अच्छा काम हो रहा है. नाउ कमिंग टू एसेट्स, एक इकोलॉजिकली सस्टेनेबल और इम्पैक्टफुल, दिस इज़ वन ऑफ द पॉइंट जो काफ़ी नोटवर्दी है और इस पर बिल्कुल काम होना भी चाहिए. कमिंग टू सर PCCF सर, वी स्पोक ऑफ लाइवलीहुड, we spoke of assets, we spoke of women, and when we speak of all these three, forest dwellers and forests are all connected. So forests are shrinking, लोग गांव छोड़ के जा रहे हैं, leaving their women behind अगर urban में जा रहे हैं तो. Now in such a scenario, forests have traditionally been not just forest dwellers के livelihood, but also a part of their ecosystem, part of their culture, part of their well-being of the community as well. So what kind of connections forest department की तरफ से अगर हम देखें, what kind of connections do we see with women collectives to stabilize livelihoods as well as improve the green cover simultaneously? Sir.
Good afternoon all. Myself, I am Srinivasa Rao, Principal Chief Conservator of Forest and Head of the Forest Force. we are the custodians of the natural resources, 44% of the natural resources of the state. That is the forest area. As you know it very well, forests are the source of the livelihood of the forest dwellers. Whereas in other states, if you go to the Western countries, if you go to the Europe and all the places, they are the conservation reserves. The people are nothing to do, the livelihoods are nothing to do with the forest. Out here, people dependency is more on the forest. We encourage it also. We encourage their dependence for forest, then only they'll take care of the, to protect the forest. They have been doing this thing since a long time. All the villagers, tribals living within the forest, they are taking care of the forest. And the role of the communities, excellently, we have devised, we have one program called the Joint Forest Management, where we involve the villagers, local communities for the protection of the forest, for the conservation of the forest, and for the protection and conservation of the wildlife also. And there is a direct relationship, there is a direct symbiotic relationship is there between the people and the forest. You cannot divide the forest in Chhattisgarh or in the third world countries, the people. We are deeply associated with the people. And just now he mentioned that forests are shrinking. It is not like that. They never shrink. See, we have got the 44% of the area. We have got the certain acts. Forest Conservation Act is there, and that as per that act, it is not a prohibitory act. It is a regulatory act. Suppose we need the electricity also. For the generation of the electricity, you need coal. Almost all the mineral wealth is present inside the forest. And wherever almost all the rivers, they originate from the forest area. And we want the cheap and the green energy, that is the hydroelectricity. We have to go for the construction of the hydroelectric dams inside the forest area. Then we need to divert some of the forest for the developmental works. But in lieu of that area, we take equal amounts of the forest, equal amount of the non-forest area. And then we compensate that loss by developing another patch of the area into a forest. So now what type of the different livelihood activities are there? One of the biggest activity is the non-timber forest produce collection. That is the minor forest produce collection. Whereas in Chhattisgarh, it is royalty free. People, they don't have to pay anything to the government or any agency. They are free to go to the forest. They collect n number of the items as they can. And like that, almost all the NTFPs are the royalty free products here in Chhattisgarh. And again, of late after 2000, we have started the programs like the processing of the minor forest produce at the village level, what you are calling as the locality compactness. We have got the primary cooperative societies where the 7 to 8 villages form into a primary cooperative societies. They collect all type of the nationalized products. We have got the nationalized products like Tendupatta. It's a huge business, every year it goes. And what is the role of the women? Actually, our main beneficiaries and the stakeholders, you can say the owners are the women only. They are the excellent gatherers of the minor forest produce. Their involvement, we cannot visualize the minor forest produce business without their involvement. And we have got the self-help groups. At the primary cooperative level, we have got the self-help groups, and you know that there are so many micro enterprises are also there. In that locality, in that area, the primary collection part will take care of the people, those who have got the less education qualifications, and that semi-educated people, they come for the processing, and the women, those who are having the excellent skills of doing the business entrepreneurship qualities, they are involved in the marketing of the product. Like that, we have got the Sanjeevani product, and most of the members, 90% of the workforce are from the women. Their involvement is, immense involvement is there in the protecting the forest, and at the same time how we are protecting this forest natural resource, how we are managing them. The biggest program that we have taken up from the Campa funds is the soil and water conservation. Earlier it was called as the Narva Vikas Yojana. Now the target is the streams. We have selected the streams inside the forest area from the ridge to valley approach, and we have got the GIS system, and based on all these things, whatever you have shown here, the cloud maps and the QGIS and the mobile mappers and the Bhuvan portal, we extensively use the Bhuvan portal, and we have got the 40 NRM engineers, natural resource management engineers are there. They are well qualified agriculture BTech engineers, and they have got a good knowledge on all these layers. They generate the different layer. Before planning a structure, before planning any water harvesting structure, we do take into the consideration of all these parameters, there are about 30 to 35 parameters. Earlier, this work was started by the Ministry of Rural Development with the cooperation of the ICRG people. They trained our people, our forest personnel, and then after that, we have developed our in-house facilities, and now that there are the excellent results, or we are getting excellent results. If I am claiming that excellent results, everybody will have some type of the suspicions will creep in your mind, and that we have given this for the monitoring and evaluation of this whole work to the National Remote Sensing Center, Hyderabad. And they are assessing the impact of this climate resilient structures in the forest area as far as the soil conservation is concerned, as far as the water conservation is concerned. How much of the water table is increased, like initially we take the baseline data before the starting the work, before treating any stream, we take the baseline data. We have got the KML files for the each and every stream. We demarcate their catchment areas, and then we go for the site specific structure. If the elevation is more, by using the different elevation models, if it is a steep one, then we go for the contour trenches. If it's a less steeper one, in the valley area, it's a different approach is there. If it is the river stream bed, that a different approach is there. Like that in the catchment area, different approaches and different are there. Like that even in the forestry science, it's scientific management. We use extensively the technology. We can provide you the latitude and longitude and the KML files of all these structures. You can visualize on yourself, and we'll provide you that the methodology also, how to assess the impact. The same thing is NRSC is also doing. We have got our in-house facility, like the forest management and the information division is there. And the other thing is, as I told you, they are the source of the livelihood. Source of the livelihood. We have got the Vandan Samitis, where the people, where the self-help groups, they collect the material, they do the business in the local hard bazaars, they sell it to the centralized godowns, where from here we conduct the auctions, and then the 100% of the whatever revenue, whatever the benefits that they get it from this sale of the minor produce, it will be given back to the society, to the primary collectors. That's how we are distributing every year the bonus to the Tendupata collectors and all. And we have got an excellent rapport and an excellent relation with the local villagers, and with their support only we could able to keep this area intact. At least up to till now, we have diverted 0.8% of the area for the different developmental activities. After the forest rights act come into the picture, we have given near about 4 lakh hectares of the area for the forest dwellers, for the agriculture purpose. These are the schemes that we have to carry out, and still, so we act as far as the climate change is concerned, and forests are the excellent carbon for the carbon sequestration, and they have got the greater role, and we are still working to extend the forest cover, green cover outside the forest areas. We have got an excellent scheme, that is the Kisan Vriksha Mitra Yojana. We give the subsidized plants and everything, high yielding plants. They are not the simple varieties, they are the high yielding, and they have got the forward linkages also. ITC Bhadrachalam, we have got an MOU with the ITC Bhadrachalam and the Orient paper mill. They supply the seedlings to the farmers, and after that they have got the MOU. Whatever the prevailing market is there, after 4 years, they buy the product from them. Like that, we are giving the forward linkages to the farmers also, so that this type of the products, whatever they get after after harvesting, they get this benefit also. Thank you. Any questions or any more clarification?
I'll get back to you over that, sir. My next question would be जब हम बात कर रहे हैं इम्पैक्ट की इवैल्यूएशन की, वो बात आती है सर, सो वी ऑल एग्री कि एक तो है ओनरशिप, जिस इनिशिएटिव का चल रहा है, जो प्रोग्राम चल रहा है, उसमें कम्युनिटी का एंगेजमेंट और उसका ओनरशिप बहुत मायने रखता है उस प्रोग्राम को इम्पैक्टफुल बनाने के लिए, उस प्रोग्राम को इम्पैक्टफुल बनाने के लिए मायने रखता है. सो टू शमन, माय question would be, for a philanthropic organization like yours, technology-based solutions, how do you ensure technology-based solutions for water security, and they are well received and locally managed by communities? How do you see it?
Thank you, Arpan, and आपके अनुमति के साथ मैं पहले एक तो नमन करना चाहूँगा जो हमारी दीदियाँ जो ऑनलाइन ज्वाइन की हैं, तो वो हमारे सामने नहीं दिखती हैं, तो शायद नज़र से छूट जाए. एंड ऑल्सो आवर पैनलिस्ट डॉक्टर एंड्रू फ्लेमिंग who's online, so since we do not have a chance to have eye contact. So आपके प्रश्न पर आने से पहले अगर आप अनुमति दें, एक सवाल मैं पूरी जो स्टूडेंट कम्युनिटी है उनसे पूछना चाहता हूँ. अगर स्टूडेंट कम्युनिटी जो कोई जगह है, अगर आप बताएं, आजकल 2 वर्ड का बहुत चर्चा होता है, 2 words both starting with C and both talked about together. CC, किस चीज की बात कर रहे हैं हम लोग? थोड़ा जोर से. पर हिंदी में क्या बोलते हैं क्लाइमेट चेंज को? Excellent. This is the first audience where I have got the answer straight off. Jal Vayu Parivartan, and really compliments and congratulations to you. That sets up the context for the answer to what Arpan has asked me. When we talk about water security or technology in water, why is water security so important? Water security, climate change का ही दूसरा पहलू है. You cannot talk of climate change without talking of water security, and that becomes a very, very close, direct link to multiple dimensions of it, including what Rao Sahab had said earlier in some of the other dimensions. It is all very, very closely interlinked. But what is water security? What is water security? Too little of water, is that what is water security? Or is it too much of water? These are where the difficulties come in. Because water security हुआ जो पर्याप्त मात्रा में, सही समय पर, सही मात्रा में आपको मिले. So, we often talk about water in the summer months when there seems to be an acute shortage of water. We stop talking about water the moment the rains come in. But these rains will be there for only 2 months. What after? And even when you have rains, if you have too much of rains, as we've often seen, when snowfall, instead of snowfall, if you have rainfall, and if you have floods and all kinds of issues, so there are bigger pictures which come in. तो टेक्नोलॉजी का पहला प्रयोग तो ये है, और लोकलाइज कि आप जिस समूह में हैं, जिस कम्युनिटी में हैं, जिस क्षेत्र में हैं, वहां पर आप क्या कर सकते हैं कि आपको सही समय पर सही मात्रा में जल मिले और जल का प्रयोग हो। टेक्नोलॉजीज की अब कमी नहीं है, थैंक्स ऑल्सो टू द स्टार्टअप कम्युनिटी। बहुत इनोवेटिव, बहुत नए तरह के गैजेट्स निकल रहे हैं विच कैन हेल्प। एक मैं उदाहरण देता हूं, शायद छत्तीसगढ़ में उसका प्रयोग नहीं होता होगा, पर इसका प्रयोग अब पंजाब में हो रहा है। पंजाब इज द बिगेस्ट कंज्यूमर ऑफ वाटर फॉर व्हाट रीजन? गिव मी वन रीजन। इरिगेशन फॉर paddy, which is rice cultivation. And why do we irrigate? Because you need the soil to get moist to a particular certain level. If you have too much of water, does it help the crop? No. If it's too little, obviously it does not help. So through the use of some technologies which are now IoT enabled, the soil sensor senses out that soil has now dried up. आपके फोन पर मैसेज आ जाएगा कि आप पंप ऑन कर दीजिए। Similarly, when the soil moisture has reached the right level, you stop it so that you do not waste the water needlessly. It stays at the optimal level. Hopefully, we will reach a stage कि उतना भी मेहनत आपको ऑन और ऑफ करने का नहीं होगा। वो आपके फोन में जब सेटिंग से डायरेक्टली वो IoT ऑन कर भी कर देगा, ऑफ भी कर देगा। But these are some ways where you're not changing the core habit or the core behavior, which is a lot more difficult, but you're making life a little more painless. Similarly, which we have also been talked about, we talked about the CLART thing a little bit back, GIS. All these kind of technologies are now available, and we've talked twice actually about the ridge to valley approach. All of it goes on a very obvious. Even a child of 5 years will tell you, if you ask it, that water, there's only one truth: water can only flow from a higher to a lower height. Every principle is based around this. Therefore, every form of technology which helps us to understand and read the topography in this way, however local, even at a micro watershed level, has a direct intervention. So in each of our programs that we support, we try to build in this very obvious, very basic thing, but in ways in which it becomes practicable and doable. There's one dimension I'd like to add. The fastest adoption of many of these kind of things and many of these tools, and Rajaji mentioned about the water budgeting example that we were talking about, is almost always the woman. Why? We've all seen paintings and pictures of women photographs of women carrying big matkas of water on their head. How often have you seen that with men? A social truth in most parts of our country is that the pressure of ensuring water or the pain of water, or a pain of water security has a strong gender dimension, lands fundamentally on the woman, and therefore their ability to understand and adopt practices which ease her load she's the first one to do that, and that also starts leading to a transformation of her social stature within the family. So a number of these dimensions come into play. It's not technology for the sake of technology. It's applied at the local level so that it improves the lives of the community. And very often for us, a lead player in that is the woman.
Thank you, Shravanji. Now, moving over to Mr. Fleming. I have a specific and concise question that truly comes up in most of the discussions. The per capita emission in Britain are higher than that of India. Now, climate change is one of the key engagements for the British government. So, what are the strategies that the British government is adopting in Britain, specifically in rural areas, to mitigate the same? That can be a learning lessons for India as well. Over to you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I hope you can hear me okay. Johar, Chhattisgarh. I'm really sorry I can't be with you for this session in person. I always love coming to your state, and I'm looking forward to my next opportunity to do so. In relation to the first part of your question, clearly the demographic differences between UK and India are significant, and we're at different places in our industrial journeys. And I guess that does make us to be in a place in some ways that we have more lessons to share and offer on this broad climate agenda. But, you know, listening to each of your other four esteemed panelists, I can see that, you know, there's much synergy between what I was going to say and what you're going to do. And one of the most important ones of those is about the role of women and the contribution that women make in society. And obviously, they're the ones that probably, well, I think definitely suffer the most in the face of any kind of climate shock or climate disaster. And they must be at the forefront of the mitigation, of the solution being brought along, and that's happening in India far quicker and far better, I would suggest, than perhaps it's happened in the UK, which, as I said, was far earlier in the journey. But we I feel on this issue now, we are in a good place. I mean, the other point, you know, you ask for India, but I mean, India is so big and so diverse that what might work in one place might not work in another place. Up until now, my office has been asked to help very much largely in some of the challenges around climate pertaining to the more urban areas, the metros and some of the larger tier 2 cities. But it's really interesting that you're asking more from the rural perspective. And, you know, we're very keen and very happy to try and find a match similarly demographically placed local authorities in the UK that might be able to partner and share their expertise with equivalent districts in Chhattisgarh. You know, we have 317 local authorities in England alone, and then we have more, 32 in Scotland, 22 in Wales, and 11 in Northern Ireland, and those are the 4 countries that make up the UK. You know, and each one of those has unique and different challenges, and we always try to understand when we're asked for assistance which match most closely in their ambitions, who can share the best, and there's a lot of enthusiasm to do that. So we're very happy to take that up if we have more clarity on the asks specifically to Chhattisgarh, and I'm sure that I'll be back there soon with my colleague. But let me just give a few examples to address your question where I think, you know, we have learned. I mean, I think sustainable land use, really working with communities to understand what their unique needs are in the different contexts of the country, looking at things like agroforestry, carbon sequestration, and sustainable land use practice have been increasingly important in success. Agricultural innovations is another one. You know, this is something that is continuing to be evolving, and you know, there's been a lot of research undertaken in the UK to try to enhance agricultural practices to mitigate climate impacts to the maximum. And a lot of progress has been made, a lot of technologies exist. Some of these have already been brought and shared in different parts of India itself. Biodiversity conservation, of course, is really important. Enhancing ecosystem services. Then there's always the importance of having that connection and collaboration between communities. So even though you're focusing on the needs, perhaps, of a rural community, you still have to understand the needs of urban communities as well. because collaboration and coordination is something that's really, really important if you're going to have success and bring people with you in whatever you do. And a lot of effort and work has gone into educating communities on why the UK has such ambitious policies around the climate agenda as it does, because the policies are useless if the people don't buy in, understand, and broadly speaking want to come along with it. And there's a big part in our classrooms of educating young people about climate, about environment, about why these issues matter. And these are our future leaders. So it's really, really important to do that. And that happens a lot now. But when I was a child, my lessons on geography or humanities didn't really address this, neither did the science lessons. Now they're very much part of our curriculum. And I think that's also a really important area. I think the other thing is about ensuring that the population see the benefit of the changes that are trying to be brought about. The importance of the co-benefit. So if you're going to have policies that are leading towards improving the air quality, for example, you need to demonstrate that new jobs, new opportunities, new livelihoods are also being created around that issue. And this cuts across in the same way to many other aspects on the broad agenda of climate. So we work on that as well. I think we do that much better again now than we did in my earlier days, and I think the impact and effect is also there. So these are just a few thoughts off the top of my head. I've mentioned gender already. Gender inclusion is critical, so no one is left behind, and women not only can but must contribute to the journey. So I reiterate that point. And in summary, every single policy in the UK has to be sense checked for the climate aspect. So everything we do, we're thinking about climate impact. And this is something else that I think is really important. And, it's very simple, but it's an important lesson, really, in that, it can really ensure if a policy is climate proofed, then it can only help us towards our target of net zero by 2050, which is where we've committed to by law, and many of the other commitments that we've made as a nation as well. Perhaps I'll come on and speak a bit more about some of those in the next question. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Andrew. It was wonderful hearing from you the various initiatives, and it was even heartwarming when you extended all kinds of support that you could do to support specifically Chhattisgarh. Now moving on to Sir Bansal sir, I would like to come to you. We'll make it real quick. The rainfall pattern. As per the recent data, the rainfall pattern of the state has been changing, and in lesser days, the same amount of rainfall. So, regarding Manrega, how can Manrega be leveraged effectively to address the challenges posed by changing rainfall patterns?
That's a very relevant question in these times. I think what matters right now is how effectively are we able to recharge our groundwater sources, because the maximum water stress, as we've spoken about in this conclave itself, is onto the groundwater sources. And when we talk about NRM works, when we talk about rich to valley planning, watershed management, it basically ultimately translates into how much water is able to seep into the ground effectively and actually recharge our aquifers. So once we are able to do that, I think the changing rainfall patterns will be much less of a concern. And that is something which we are all trying to do. I mean, that is the entire story behind it, whether it's the involvement of SHGs in the planning of structures, say for example contour bunds, the LCBDs, and different types of structures that we often talk about in water conservation. So when we make them effectively and we make them at places where they ought to be made, so these things, water conservation will be much better, water recharge will be much better, and the rainfall patterns will be much less prone to changing rainfall patterns.
Thank you, sir. It was actually really brief. Moving on to Shramanji. Again, starting with, to be brief, time constraint. We see a gradual shift in CSR and philanthropic organizations towards investing in system strengthening rather than investing in direct implementation programs. So in your experience, which programs are producing better and wider results? And the second part regarding, of course, the presentation that we started with, how is water well a different program? Yeah.
Okay, so I think you've answered the first question yourself, and I think the Hindi word Sashaktikaran captures it very well. Because if, as CSR, there was maybe an era at one time where it was like almost you are doing it out of goodness or to display your goodness. I think it is now very much a core responsibility. So because you owe as much to the societies that you come out of, that you have to get it. Having said that, you cannot, you do not have the ability to either scale it up or to do it for somebody else. The most effective way is if you can get the society and the community wherever you are choosing to work. If you can enable them with the right tools, information, technology, that they take it up and they understand the significance of what they are. So this is where the entire systems driven bit comes in. And then the ownership of their own welfare shifts very smoothly and tangibly to the society and community, and that is something that can continue for a long time. It gets aided till the time it requires the aid, but thereafter it's like teaching a child on a cycle. You know, then you take away the trainer wheel, the cycle is on. Then you can run for a long period of time. It is something that is doable, it is replicable, and it can almost continue for generations. The program that was presented very largely depends on this. There are government schemes, large government schemes. There are objectives to be met, and there are these little bits of efficiencies which can be extra built in with the expertise that through the CSR support that can be brought in. And once these three things come together, the objective of making the communities entirely self-reliant, self-equipped, understanding the nuances of what is happening, all that falls into place. So in a way, you are kind of just playing that part in making sure that all the tools, all the requirements that are needed to get going are made available to the community, and the community is much, much wiser and knowledgeable about their local circumstances than any of us may even conceive. So that entire shift is a very powerful one, and most importantly, it is something that will stay for a long period of time, and there lies the contribution.
Thank you, Shraman. Actually, as of the time constraints and a few demands and questions coming from the community, we have people connected from Dantewada, and we have a few questions from within the in-house audience. So I'll take 3 questions. These questions are, of course, anonymous. What is the strategy of Chhattisgarh government in reducing or combating water stress blocks for specific water stress blocks? So I would like Bansal sir to go for it.
We have highlighted water stressed blocks, and even amongst the water stressed blocks, we have highlighted this particular gram panchayats which are water stressed. And as I have mentioned before, from MGNRAGS point of view, we specifically monitor the sanctions of work done in those blocks and in those gram panchayats, and we try to give more and more sanctions in the NRM domain. So there's this guideline that we have, the government of India has also given to us, that more than 65% of works in these water stress blocks have to be related to NRM, natural resource management related works. So that is how basically we're taking the approach. Now here, where the role of SHGs come in is for better planning, as Shramanji is again and again emphasizing, and Chandan Madam was also saying, the SHGs are the ground level stakeholders who are actually experiencing the water stresses, who are actually facing whatever is happening, including the behavior issues. So it's not just about asset creation where MG and REGS is there. There is also a huge component of the behaviors which are around those assets. So which relate to the asset management, which relate to the actual maintenance of that asset. Say for example, if there is a water, a whole pipeline structure in the village. So if there are different leakages and the Gram Panchayat does not take ownership, so that adds to the water stress. So these are some small, big issues which seem small to us when we look at it from the state level, but they are major issues when we go down to the ground. So we try to address all these issues with a convergence approach, and that is how basically these things are tackled.
Thank you, sir. What I get is it's all again comes back to ownership, it comes back to community engagement, it comes back to participatory planning, it comes back to sealing the blockages. So it's all a whole of government. When we say PRA, CBO, LA compact, it's the effort by both ends that needs to be done. Anyway, now coming to an interesting question for Shraman, of course. The question says, how can the water well portal be scaled to other states? And it has an addendum to it. Can this information be accessed by NGOs and government institutions for better decision making?
Water wisdom is a collective wisdom of mankind. So first and foremost, if it works and if it's solving the problems and people know it is solving the problems, nobody will have hesitation in wanting to adopt it and pick it up. And none of the other stakeholders on the side who are starting it off will have any hesitation in making it available for wider and public use. The first part is the proof of the pudding is in the eating. So can it deliver what it has set out to deliver? If it does, rest assured, taking it across is the least of the problems. There will be multiple people who will be wanting to support an initiative like this, an initiative which is proven to work.
Thank you, Shraman. So I would request Palash to connect us to Dantewada community. दीदी जोहार, आवाज आ रही है हमारी? थोड़ा तेज बोलिएगा. हमारी आवाज आ रही है? Okay. I'll move on to the next question till we sort this technical glitch out. My next question would be to PCCF sir. Since we have been talking of like technology and how can sustainable forest management be integrated with technology-based water security solutions? So what's your take on Chhattisgarh context?
Sustainable forest management and technology. As I told you earlier, forestry is a science. It's a technology-related practices, and this is a different from the general regular management. And we have got our working plans. They are prepared by the senior forest officers for 10 years. That is the action plan to maintain any forest area in a sustainable way. And then, as I told you earlier also, the forests are the source of the so many rivers. That's a excellent catchment areas. And this technology and the forestry, we club it together. And because we have to manage the vast area, we have to collect the data based on the sample plots, and we have to come to the conclusions and all. And like that, this each and every place, we have got the excellent fire alert system based upon the satellite data, and we use the all type of the maps for the management of the forest. LiDAR survey is also one way, and where we go to the DGPS survey for the demarcation of the forest blocks and all. And whereas this, as I told you, as far as the water management is concerned, always the ridge areas are at the receiving end, and the people living in the catchment areas, they never have the irrigation facilities. Then now with this soil and water conservation measures, we have taken care of the people living in this catchment area by improving the small water structures as per the site and as per the elevation and all. Yeah, it all depends on the rainfall system. Whether the rainfall system, having the forest, you don't expect that you will get the 24 degrees effect. The climate change is an holistic change, holistic efforts. We have to take into consideration of the almost all the sectors into the consideration. Transport sector is there, energy sector is there, infrastructure building sector is there, and almost all these sectors, their effect is there on the climate.
Thank you, sir. Palash, could we please connect to the team, Dantewada? Or shall we move ahead? Okay. So, we are towards the end of this panel discussion, and I'm very happy to announce, in fact, there's a portal, the water well that we had been speaking of. There's a portal on this water well, and on this occasion, I request our panelists and guests to kindly inaugurate that portal, and I would request my team to please coordinate for that. Ashtosh. So, I would hand over to Nishank for a vote of thanks.
Thank you, our panelists, for their valuable insights and engaging discussion today.
So, it's about the portal narration. I would request Nishank.
Thank you, our panelists, for their valuable insights and engaging discussion today. Your expertise and perspectives have been truly enlightening and will undoubtedly contribute to the advanced climate action and tech-driven solution in Chhattisgarh. As a token of our appreciation, we would like to present each of you with a special memento from TRI and IIM. Now I invite Ms. Paridhi Sharma to kindly do the honor. Thank you once again to all our panelists for their valuable views, and I also thank the audience for being such enthusiasts.